Good evening everybody at Game Replays and YouTube. Welcome back to another shoutcast brought to you by Tommy. Now I'm just going to start off by just apologising for having almost a month and a half hiatus of shoutcasting. Unfortunately, real life has gotten in the way of video games recently, but I am back with another shoutcast and it's going to be a really good one to make up for all the ones that I haven't done but could have done in the past 5-6 weeks or so. And because I now have a week off, I'm probably going to be doing lots more shoutcasts over the next week, so prepare your bodies for some shoutcast spam. Now today we've got a really high rated game, got a lot of wobs on Game Replays and got a lot of comments and stuff already, so I'm really looking forward to this. It's SonnyBlackReloaded versus Bullet. Standard US versus Whermacht matchup on the classic map of Angoville. I'm just going to get this game started. We can talk a little bit about what happens then. Going from the 5-second mark, there we go. I mean, everyone knows Angoville, and we're unlikely to see anything too outside the box here. However, just as I say that, we can see that the Whermacht first Pioneer squad is actually going for the cap, and it's the second Pioneer squad who's probably going to be building the Whermacht quarters. Yep, there we go, we can see that coming up. That's a capping order you don't often see, but obviously for the Whermacht player here, he's prioritizing this high fuel over here rather than getting his first unit out. We can see he's actually gone for a 3 Pioneer start. That's very interesting. You don't see a 3 Pioneer start too often, so possibly we might be seeing an MG start or something like that to support it. But we can see that that fuel point is now being capped, and that's going to take a few moments. Those engineers are probably going to spot them and might even run up to have an engagement here. But they might just both decide... They can probably both see each other there. Oh, maybe not. Nope, they can't see each other. But as soon as one of them is finished capping, there's probably going to be our first engagement there. On the other hand, we've got our Whermacht cutoff being taken there, and these low +5 fuels there, and that +5 munition, +10 munitions there is probably going to be capped as well. Our first rifle squad is on the field quite way ahead of time before any Whermacht fighting unit is on the field now, and that rifle squad is just going to cap that American cutoff real quick here as well. Now the thing about starting on Angoville South, as the US player is here, is that it can be a real pain in the neck if you don't wire off this area around here. Otherwise, it can be very easy for your opponent to take your cutoff and then sit inside that building and prevent you from gaining your cutoff back. However, there's been no attempt to garrison this building, and we can see these riflemen just engaging these pioneers here, doing a lot of damage but not causing any casualties yet. MG42 opens up, doesn't suppress the rifleman though, but there we go. There's our first bit of suppression. MG's moving, packing up because it was at maximum range there. He's going to go a little bit closer and try and get the pin on these rifles here. He's setting up, but the rifles look like they've managed to get out of dodge just in time. We've got a bike out now as our second Whermacht unit, which is a really nice complement to an MG42 because the MG has quite a longer range than its own line of sight, so the bike here really comes in handy, especially for pushing units into the MG's arc of fire and all that kind of good stuff. Plus, I mean, the MG just adds a nice bit of extra firepower and is able to chase down units, as we might see here, and maybe gain a couple of extra casualties. So we can see here on the other side, we got another engagement here. Pioneers just forced off by the capping rifles. There was no point engaging there. They were just going to get beaten very, very easily. But we can see that current capping looks about 50-50 above both sides, but the American player is going to finish the cap on that fuel point just a little bit ahead of the Whermacht player, so we'll have a slight fuel lead, but only very, very slight. We can see we got another rifle squad just moving up. Now, these guys are probably going to go for some sort of cutoff, but they're going to be engaging this bike now from fairly long range. MG's moving up to get some suppression down on them. But looks like the US player is gearing himself up for a nice bit of a flank. He's got these other rifles moving in from the opposite side. So if that MG42, with only one MG on the field currently, and a Volk squad, it might not be enough to hold off a full-scale flank attack if the US player really executes it well. Meanwhile, we've seen some mines being laid by the Whermacht player there on that little opening there. So that's going to be really, really handy. if the US player decides to move up with these low health NGs. But he must have seen the mine going down because he's getting a minesweep already. So we got our first major infantry engagement here. Volks in a building versus these 2 rifles. I think the Volks actually might have a bit of an edge here, given that garrison Volks are quite powerful, given that they're fairly low health, but their rifles do quite nice damage. You can see this MG42 has actually been flanked. He's turning around. The rifles are in a bit of a bad situation. They're about to eat MG42 at point blank range. Oh god, that is nasty. Lost a lot of health there. Engineers managed to find the mine though, and they're just engaging these engineers with a bike, and the MG42 is going to come along here and put a stop to that real quick. But they managed to sweep the mine before they could be forced off. We've got another rifle squad coming in. These rifles have just been inside that building. They've been stalling this MG42 and this Volk squad here. There's another rifle squad coming out to add to the stalling tactic. Meanwhile, on this left side of the map, we can see that the US players actually managed to cap most of the left side here, and he's taken all the way up to the Whermacht cutoff there, leaving the Whermacht with just this quarter section of the map, leaving him with significantly less in the way of munitions, but a reasonably similar fuel income. So we can see we've got fast bars now. We're only a couple of minutes into the game, but bars have already come out, and they're going to lend a really nice bit of firepower. Obviously, to anyone who has played US extensively will know the power of the BAR, especially against Volks and MGs. It really gives them a much-needed kick. We see we've got this MG42 here in the corner setting up again. Flame Rengi's moving in, but they're going to get suppressed. Boom, suppressed very fast. But in the new patch, this is of course a game from 2.602, the new patch of Company of Heroes, which actually increased the suppression threshold for Flamer Engineers. And there we go, we just saw a Pioneer Engineer squad get roasted and toasted by that Engineer squad right there. And a bit of a nice flank taken on this MG42, but the Riflemen were dancing just in front of it, and they're down to very low health. They need to get the fuck out of dodge, or they're going to get mowed down. Flamer NG's forced to retreat there. Bard Rifles moving from the other side. They've almost taken down the health on this MG42 here. We can see it's getting very low health. If he continues to chase it from multiple angles, he might be able to finish it off. He's setting up the MG42. Probably not a very good idea. US player is going to have one squad suppressed, but he's probably going to lose the MG42 here. I think he's popped medkits on it. The medkit might even save him. Nope, medkit didn't save him that time, and that's one MG42 down and 250 manpower lost for the Whermacht player at the cost of just a few rifles. So that's a really nice first little engagement there for the US player. Taking out that MG42 is going to force the Whermacht player to either build another MG42, delaying his tech, or just deal with having only one MG42, which is it's really going to put him behind when trying to hold off big rifle flanks. Especially as it's pretty evident that the US player is going for the standard 4 barred rifles and 2 flamer NGs. So you can see back here in the base, we can see a supply yard coming up as well. That's going to enable the rifles to get veterancy just that little bit quicker. And 2 VPs are in control of Allied hands, meaning that we currently have the victory point tickers at 489 to the US and 487 to Whermacht. But it is very, very early days yet. However, things have gone just a little bit to the favour of the Allies so far, having managed to keep the Whermacht player really sort of inside this quarter of the map here. So we can see the Whermacht player has decided to build himself a second MG42, just setting up here. He's obviously thought that his teching was not quite as important as holding off these big rifle flanks. Because obviously, having gone bars, the US player isn't going to be getting his first vehicle out anytime too soon. And he's obviously upgraded himself to some Flamer NGs and some Minesweepers, so his engineers are going to be near where the fighting's going on for a lot of the game as well. So teching obviously isn't a massive priority for him right now. And we can see the Whermacht player now is just getting ready to bunker down here. This is probably going to get turned into a med bunker, and that's going to be the focal point for the US player as he tries to fight around this little quarter of the map. And we're probably going to see the US player going infantry, because infantry just provides the best ways to take down bunkers, what with their sort of off and on map artillery. It really does offer a lot in the way of bunker busting. We can see more barred rifles coming out. They're quite low health though. I mean, we can see this rifle squad here is down to 50% health, but still is all 6 men, so in a firefight with Volks or MG42, they're going to be losing men really, really fast. It's probably going to push the US player into building himself a triage quite soon. So we can see this bunker here has been turned into a med bunker. We've got rifles here moving in for a bit of a flank attack. They managed to get through this little cut-off opening here without getting suppressed. One Rev squad is moving around to the flank. The other squad is getting really badly suppressed at really low health as well. He needs to retreat, and there we go. He's got the retreat. Second Rev squad is moving in, though. He's going to try and focus fire, but he's getting hit by 2 squads of wounded Volks, and he retreats as well. Retreats straight into the path. The MG42 might even lose a man there. Nope, MG was actually reloading at that time, so managed to avoid losing any men. And due to his unsuccessful flank around this area here, trying to kill that MG42, he's just pulled back on his other side with his little assault force of his barred rifle and flamer squad there. Still no evidence of further teching from the US player, but we can see a Sturm Armory coming off from Sonny Black. So we're probably going to be seeing Puma around soon or something like that. Although the US player actually has a lot of resources. He's floating 700 manpower, a lot of munitions, having only laid 1 or 2 mines and only got himself a minesweeper and a flamer, and has got 100 fuels. That's enough to build himself a tank depot right off the bat, which would certainly be an interesting change of pace, because right now there's just no AT out from the Whermacht player, and there's no evidence of tier 2 teching. The only Grens he's going to get is going to be from this med bunker, or later on in the game he might decide to back tech to a Krieg barracks, but unlikely. So we can see both sides just licking their wounds slightly. A lot of wounded rifles here. We can see they're all down to about 50% health. It's really, really crucial that the US player gets himself a triage as soon as possible. But we can see a tank depot coming up now, and he's already got 30 fuel, so it'll only be another 2 minutes or so before he can get his first Sherman out for the cost of about 90 fuel, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. So we can see the Whermacht player has managed to hold off against these flank attacks pretty well, and has laid a whole bunch of sort of a bit of a clusterfuck of wire here to prevent further flanks. A lot of wire being used to not too much effect yet, but it's really going to help later on in the game, I think. And we can see our first Puma is coming out now, and it's going to absolutely massacre these low health rifles here if he chases. He is going to give chase, but someone hit a mine. Boom. I think those pioneers might have hit a mine as they tried to capture that cutoff. But it's crucial that the US player gets himself out and tank destroy it. And this is what we have. We have an M10 being built right now. That's a hard counter as they come for taking down Pumas, because Pumas really don't have a whole lot of health, and M10s are really very, very solid as AT for taking on Pumas and things like this, weapons that because obviously the Puma has no anti-tank capabilities of its own, so the low health and low armor of the M10 doesn't really make too much of a difference for him. So we can see that M10's nearly finished. It's being built quite fast, which has me suspecting that the US player may have gone armor, but not quite sure yet. So our second Puma out now. The Whermacht player seems to be quite confident in the US player's lack of AT, but hasn't gone for a base rush or anything of the sort just yet. But he's managed to make some quite good ground, and has actually brought map control down to about 50% now, instead of the sort of 25% that it was about 5-10 minutes ago. And so we do have an M10 on the field. He's going to have to be really careful with it, though. If he runs into a mine, then he's really going to be a little bit stuck, because Volk Panzerfaust are likely to finish him off. So Whermacht player's seeing this M10 now. M10's just probably gonna crush this wire to make room for his rifles to come through. And it looks like triage has finally been built, and so he's got a lot of nice healthy rifles again. But still no veterancy for any of his rifles, so that's just a little bit disappointing. But he hasn't had much fun with some extremely good micro from the Whermacht player, as far as his MG micro has gone. Has really enabled... wow, I can see a lot of infantry suppressed here, and then just getting absolutely chewed up through this little gap in the hedge through these two Pumas here. 2 Panzerfaust off of the M10 brings it down to about 50% health and causes a mass retreat as we have some off-map artillery coming down on the position of the where the MG42 was. Absolutely demolishes those sandbags and forces a retreat from the Volks and MG42 that were there at the time. Pumas are going around to try and prevent the cap on the cutoff point there, but they're going straight into the hands of the M10, which is now up to about 70% health. He's going to get misfire. This is why I think Hellcats are really going to come into their own this patch in 2.602, because there's no misfire with the Hellcat, whereas the M10 unfortunately still has the very annoying misfire. Anyway, we can see that we got a second M10 just coming out and 30 fuel, so possibly a third M10 even will be coming out shortly. But these two Pumas are really going to cause a lot of attrition for the US player as far as whittling down his rifles goes. Down to just 3 men there. Another misfire from the M10, but he's taken down the Pumas down to fairly low health now. The first piece of AT is on the field though, but it's just a Stug, and an M10 will beat a Stug hands down. All it requires is some good use of circle strafing. Second use of off-map artillery here coming down on this MG42. Ooh, smacks MG42 and knocks it out with the first shot. And that gun, we can see its health is just ticking down here. One direct hit on the gun is going to kill the gun outright, and it won't even be able to be recrewed. There we go. Gun's almost dead. Ooh, gun just about lives. Just about. Direct hit from an M10 ought to kill it off, but it remains to be seen whether he's going to want to do that. We've got another M10 here on the left side. Those Minesweeper Pioneers forced to retreat, but they did just have enough time to spot that US mine laid just there. Yeah, we can see those Volks are just going to recrew the MG42 now at a loss of just 3 Volks, so not a huge loss really for the Whermacht player because the gun itself survived. The US player actually has enough munitions for another 105 off-map howitzer, so it's going to be interesting to see where he places that. I'm imagining that coming down on the med bunker, and here we go. It's coming down on the med bunker. Kills a medic with the first hit. Bit of veterancy coming in for the rifles now. Forces a retreat on that MG42. It's forcing it to move back, and we got another bunker coming up. We got 2 Stugs out now as well. But that Whermacht player is being pretty stubborn as far as moving his MG42 out that bunker goes. He's staying rigidly inside the bunker, but the M10's there to finish it off. It's at about 25% health now, and it's just pumping out the Grens from all these Volks and medics that are getting wasted here. And what the US player really doesn't want to do is to give away Grens to the Whermacht player. Although fortunately for him, the Grens don't have any veterancy yet, but no doubt we will be seeing some veterancy quite soon. These Stugs are just maneuvering into position now, and I said that an M10 could easily beat a Stug hands down, and it can, but against 2 Stugs, I'm not quite so sure. And there we go, there goes the M10. With 2 Stugs, it's much harder to try and circle strafe. With both M10s there, maybe he could have done it, but unfortunately he delivered his M10s into the fight fairly piecemeal, so he didn't manage to capitalize on his opportunity there. We got another MG42 back here, suppressing from very far away, and this second MG42 is actually pointing in the wrong direction. Excuse me. Another bit of veterancy for those rifles there. Not quite sure how they got that veterancy, but I saw the Stug explode. I think the M10... No, I think the rifles must have killed the Stug. With a sticky? Not quite sure, I didn't see any stickies. But with only 1 Stug on the field as AT, that M10, which is running back to base right now, could easily take on that Stug and win. But obviously he doesn't know how many Shreks the US Whermacht player has, which is now amounting to 1. That plus the now 2 Stugs on the field is probably enough to hold off that single M10. Well, it is enough to hold out that single M10. And with 3 command points now available to the US player, he is able to get himself either an on-map howitzer, which is quite likely to be seen given the campy playstyle of the Whermacht player right now. We can see we've got this repair bunker in the backfield. We've got this med bunker right out front with just 10% health or so, barely any health, just needs 1 hit from an M10 or an artillery shell. And another bunker just being set up right behind it as well. And it looks like, judging by what we just heard, that the US player has just unlocked himself the on-map howitzer and is constantly churning out these M10s as well. He's got 2 M10s on the field. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some exciting tank battles here, Stugs versus M10s. The Whermacht player's cutoff point here has been taken back as well. Judging by the amount of veterancy that the US player is managing to reel in recently, we can probably safely assume that he's gotten some supply yard upgrades, and we can see here just from how the supply yard looks that he has bought himself one supply yard upgrade there. Stugs here just opening fire on these rifles in the building. Stugs aren't terrible anti-infantry, I gotta say. They certainly do get better with veterancy, but even without veterancy, they're certainly not bad, and they can snipe the old infantry unit. It's certainly not uncommon. You can see they managed to get a couple of hits off on those rifles in the building there. Not bad at all. But those Grens are forced to just move back a little bit as those rifles move in. Might be seeing a sticky from the rifles possibly. Again, more Stug sniping, and they walk straight into the line of fire of the MG42 though. M10 looks somewhat unwilling to jump into the fight, but there we go. We have two stickies under the frontal armor of the Stug. We got a damaged engine and a destroyed engine, so that Stug isn't going anywhere. But with the second Stug to back it up, I don't think the M10 is still going to want to move in. I think he's leaving his rifles there. He's not retreating them, so it looks like he might be trying to go for more stickies. But with the MG42 pinning him, I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to do that reliably or not. We have artillery fire coming in, though. Loads of scatter. I'm guessing he's aiming for this Stug here in the MG42. MG42 with barely a sliver of health, just needs to be tickled and he's going to go down. Ooh, a load of repairing pyros just got blasted into giblets, and there goes the Stug. And that's the MG42 gun as well, but the gun remains. That Puma we can see has been blackened by the effect of being shot at by constant M10s. Looks like both sides are just licking their wounds for a minute, and I'm going to take this opportunity to just let my throat rest for a moment. Whew. But we can see that we've got 3 CPs out now for the US player again. That's going to give him access to Rangers if he wants them for a bit of bunker busting. But he's still got his full rifles alive and well with veterancy on them and all sorts. So he's probably a little bit tight for manpower as it is, with only a 237 manpower income. He's probably not going to want to start getting any Rangers just yet. Rifles just engaging these Pumas, but unable to scratch the armor from the front at least. It should probably be mentioned that we know that the Whermacht player has gone for defensive doctrine, because we saw earlier that we have these gunners on top of the Whermacht quarters here, but we've got more artillery coming down. I think it's coming down on one of these bunkers. It's coming down on this low health bunker here. It hasn't got very much repair since we last saw it. It's going to go down very shortly, but let's just focus over here though. We've got M10s engaging these Shreks. Boom, overshot, smacks into the bunker just behind, and it knocks out the repair bunker. All he needs is one undershot, and he's going to be able to kill the med bunker as well. Not sure if he's going to be able to do that though. Nope. He just needs to get the M10s in there. He's going to be able to kill that med bunker, but as it is, he's really just giving away Grens to the Whermacht player, because he's just been unable to kill this med bunker. We can see we've actually got Vet 2 for these Grens now as well. That's elite armor, so they're really going to stand up well to these barred rifles, but they're going to stand up not quite so well to these Flame Rangies, who are going to have a kraut barbecue, as they say. MG42 is still alive though, there in the backfield. Such little health on the gun itself that all it needs is probably an M10 to snipe it. But, oh, here we go. We got a bit of defensive doctrine artillery coming down around this fuel point. Absolutely decimated those rifles, forced to retreat there as well. We got these Shrek Sword moving in. They're going to try and finish off these M10s. If I was the controller of the M10, I'd try and go for a bit of squishing. But obviously he doesn't fancy it with the Stugs in the backfield. Actually, and it looks like the last 1 of 5 shell actually managed to finish off the med bunker finally, which means that the looks like the foothold that the Whermacht player had on this side of the map is actually being lost a little bit. Grenade goes down on those rifles, brings them down to very low health, but they looks like they're going to be able to get away. More on-map artillery coming down. Interested to see where this is coming down. Oh, it's coming down on the MG42. Kills the gun itself as it was unpacking. And now it'll be interesting to see whether it manages to finish off this repair bunker as well. Managed to kill a couple of repair guys, and it forces another player to destroy his own wire as he tries to get out of way of getting smacked in the face with artillery. Ooh, almost those Grens walked into that mine there, and then surely we would have seen a bit of M10 squishing, but not so. Rifles are moving in en masse onto the right hand side, but it looks like the Whermacht player has totally abandoned this side and has instead decided to switch to the left hand side. But his AT now consists of Volk Panzerfaust and a single Stug. There's now also a Sherman on the field to accompany these two M10s, so it's going to be interesting to see how he counters that. Some very nice kills in that 105 howitzer. Vet 2 already with 12 infantry and 1 tank kill. That was the Stug that we saw blowing up earlier. We can see the power of the Stug gun being illustrated in that it is not particularly powerful. Bounces on the front armour of the Sherman quite well. We can see here, M10 is going for the circle strafe now on that Stug. He's going to be able to finish it off. Just one more hit into the rear armour. Oh, but he misses. He phases right through, and he takes us a strike to the rear armour as well. Pumas might even be able to finish him off. Misfire. He doesn't fancy going in for that, and he retreats. Pumas look like they might even be pursuing. Maybe, maybe not. The Shreks are certainly pursuing. Over on the right-hand side here, we can see a lot of capping going on from the US player as he retakes his plus 16 fuel. But on the left-hand side, the Whermacht player is countering this with some capping of his own. And he's just noticed this observation post that's been built on this high fuel, though, which is going to explain the huge amount of tanks that the US player's been able to field. We've got lots of howitzer artillery coming down all over this place, and off-map artillery coming down as well. That's going to smack straight into his mine that he laid there. Boom! Destroys the mine and kills a couple of Grens there as well. Gren squad's down to just one man. He needs to get out of there. Looks like we have seen a back tech to tier 2 now. We've seen the Krieg barracks out. Because it looks like the Whermacht player was tired of dicing with these tank depot units with just Stugs and mines and Volks, and has instead decided to get himself a pack, which, despite the nerfs that it was given in 2.602 patch, still remains a fearsome natural predator of the Sherman or the M10, given that it still penetrates 100% of the time with its first shot cloak bonus. Over here on the right hand side, we see these Pumas are going away for a bit of a raiding party on these marauding riflemen who have managed to cap all the way down to this far right hand side here. But these Pumas are going to make very short work of them, and they're probably going to force a retreat as well. 5 CPs now for the US player. He'll probably be able to get himself an off-map combat group fairly shortly. That repair bunker still remains alive though, and it's still going to be a target for artillery because as long as that remains there, it's going to be way too easy for the Wehr player to just recycle his tanks and his vehicles. Looks like these rifles are just going to try and finish the cap before they retreat, but the Pumas themselves are forced off by the M10, who's now going to finish off this repair bunker. Over here on the left-hand side, we got a nice little rifle flank. He might have been able to spot... Yeah, he spotted the pack now. He's seen the pack. He's going to be able to decrew it, and then as soon as he's got it decrewed, he can rush him with the M10s. There we go. The pack's decrewed. He might even want to recrew it with his own rifles, but now his tanks are going in. He's got this M10. He's got the Sherman. He's got another M10 over here. The Whermacht player needs to recrew his pack, otherwise he's going to really struggle against all these tanks with just a single Stug, not even any Volk Panzerfaust to aid him. And we've got more artillery coming down all over this left-hand side, not quite sure where it's coming down. Not quite sure what he was aiming for. M10's coming in, misfires though, and it's just eating shots from the frontal armor of the Stug. But the M10 is coming in from the rear here, and there's the Sherman from the side, and it kills the Stug out of control. But that M10 is just eating Shreks. He needs to try and go for the squish here, or the Sherman might actually be able to finish them off. Sherman is just a great blob killer when it's got that snub-nose gun. We can see the benefits of defensive doctrine here, that top-mounted MG on the Krieg barracks, keeping his rifles at bay, preventing any sort of mine laying on his opponent's spawn. Not that with defensive doctrine he could actually spawn anything of worth, but never mind. More artillery coming down now. This is coming down right on the Ver player's main base. All over the Stone Armory. It managed to actually kill a Puma. That was extremely unlucky. That was a heck of an undershoot. And with a bit more artillery, he could probably finish off that Sturm Armory. And if he finishes off the Sturm Armory, that means no more Pumas and no more Stokes. And that's actually the end of the game. It looks like Sonny Black decided to rage quit after losing his Puma there to artillery. And I guess that just shows the power of artillery and the tank depot in this new patch. Because we can see in 2.602, the pack really isn't the be-all, end-all. All it requires is a bit of a nice rifle flank to be decrewed, and even then, you know, it's much easier to see now that it only has one shot out of cloak as opposed to two or whatever. I was actually expecting this game to go on for much longer than it did, so apologies if you're expecting sort of a 45-minute or an hour-long game. But as I said, I will be casting a lot more over this next coming week, so expect several more shoutcasts. However, I hope you enjoyed this cast, and I'll be back for more shortly. This is Tommy, signing out.